June 24th, 1941, near Brest-Litovsk, on the borderlands of the Soviet Union. The morning air is thick with dust and diesel smoke as German panzer crews lounge beside their Panzer III and Panzer IV tanks, confident and grinning. Operation Barbarossa has just begun. The Wehrmacht, unstoppable across Europe, now rolls east toward Moscow. Russische Panzer, one gunner scoffs, lighting a cigarette. Boxes on tracks, da? Easy kills. Their commanders agree. Intel. Engines roar to life as the armored columns push forward. Fields of rye bow under their treads. Villages burn in the distance. The panzers crush resistance after resistance until noon, when a forward company reports something strange near the village of Ostrogozhsk. Through the smoke, a shape emerges. It's not the lumbering BT or the squat T-2. Neuer tip, shouts a panzer commander through his periscope. A new type of Russian tank. Rounds are fired. The familiar clang of ricochets echoes through the forest. A shell from a Panzer III smashes into the stranger's hull and bounces off. Another shot glances away, leaving only a black smear. Then, with a low growl, the Soviet tank turns its turret. A 76.2 mm shell tears through the German vehicle like paper. Within seconds, two panzers are smoking wrecks. The survivors pull back in confusion. "What is that thing?" someone mutters. The first encounter with the T-34 has just taken place, and the laughter stops. September 1941. Outside Smolensk, a cold mist clings to the trees. Mud swallows boots and tracks alike. The German advance, so swift in June, has slowed to a crawl. Yet the soldiers press on, believing Moscow is within reach. In the distance, the sound of engines echoes deep, throaty, unlike the high-pitched rumble of their own panzers. The Soviets are counterattacking. Lieutenant Karl Wegener, commander of a Panzer IV, peers through his sight line. He spots movement on the far tree line. Dark silhouettes, rolling forward in perfect formation. He counts 6, then 10, then more. "Those are not the same tanks from June," he whispers. "They aren't. These are T-34 seconds, newly arriving from factories in Kharkov and Stalingrad, their thick, sloped armor and Christie suspension allowing them to glide over the swampy ground where German machines sink. The 76 mm guns flash once, twice. German tanks erupt in flame. Wegener orders his gunner to fire. A 50 mm round streaks across the field and sparks harmlessly off the Soviets' glacis plate. He tries again. Another ricochet. "Impossible," the gunner mutters. "We hit it dead on." The T-34 returns fire. The Panzer IV shudders violently, its side armor torn apart like tin. Wegener's ears ring as his radio bursts into static, company after company reporting the same nightmare. Across the front, the same story unfolds. At Mtsensk, at Vyazma, at Bryansk, German tanks find themselves hopelessly outmatched. Soviet crews, often half-trained and terrified, charge anyway, knowing their machines can take the punishment. Field Marshal Heinz Guderian, the architect of Blitzkrieg, writes in his diary that autumn, "The Russian T-34 is a far superior tank to ours. Our weapons are ineffective against its armor. The once invincible panzer divisions are suddenly prey." German mechanics begin scavenging wrecked T-34 seconds, studying their armor angles, their diesel engines, their wide tracks that never bog down in mud. In captured villages, engineers crouch beside burnt hulls, tracing weld lines and armor slopes with disbelief. One officer sums it up in a letter home. "We thought we were fighting peasants with tractors. Instead, we found engineers who built monsters." By October, the T-34 becomes the symbol of Soviet defiance. Wherever it appears, the German advance slows. And as snow begins to fall across the Russian plains, one truth becomes clear: the Wehrmacht's greatest weapon, Blitzkrieg, has finally met its match. December 5th, 1941. The temperature plunges below 30 degrees Celsius on the approaches to Moscow. Engines freeze, rifle bolts stick. Men wrap themselves in stolen Soviet coats just to survive the night. But amidst the frozen chaos, one machine still moves. From behind the snow-covered hills near Klin, the deep, rumbling growl of T-34 seconds echoes across the plain. Their wide tracks chew effortlessly through the ice, where German panzers sit immobilized. The Soviets have launched their counter-offensive, and their weapon of choice is the tank the Germans once laughed at. Panzer Commander Oberleutnant Ernst Hallmann wipes frost from his periscope. He's been fighting since Warsaw, but he's never seen anything like this. Through the haze of snow, shapes emerge, whitewashed silhouettes gliding across the fields. Achtung! Panzer links! A voice crackles over the radio. T-34 seconds in winter camouflage descend like phantoms. Their engines roar, guns blaze. German shells bounce uselessly from their angled armor, sparking bright flashes against the cold gray dawn. Holman's 50mm gunner fires 3 times nothing. The Soviet tank returns a single round. The explosion sends shards of armor tearing through the interior. The survivors flee on foot through waist-high snow. Behind them, their once proud machines burn against the white landscape. All along the front, the story repeats. At Tula, Kalinin, and Mozhaisk, the T-34 dominates. Even the mighty Panzer IV, upgraded with longer guns, struggles to penetrate its skin. German infantrymen resort to magnetic mines and bundle grenades, crawling up to the beasts in desperation. Many don't live long enough to use them. Reports flood Berlin. One general writes, "Our Panzerwaffe is facing mechanical and moral defeat. The Russian tank surpasses us in every essential aspect." Back in Germany, engineers are summoned in emergency meetings. The Panther and Tiger projects are born direct responses to this Soviet nightmare. But those designs are still on paper. For now, the T-34 reigns supreme. In Moscow, Stalin receives news from the front. The German advance has halted. His generals speak one name repeatedly: T-34, the tank that saved Russia. The Red Army, once reeling and broken, now drives the invaders backward. And somewhere in the snow, a young Soviet driver named Ivan Pavlov climbs out of his tank to light a cigarette beside the smoking carcass of a Panzer IV. He looks at his comrades and laughs, not in arrogance, but in relief. They had done what no one thought possible. The Germans had come east, mocking Soviet steel, and now that same steel was pushing them back toward Berlin.